Alright, what's up, y'all? I'm just pressing the record button and we're gonna get straight into it. So you can see by the title, I'm gonna tell you guys how to make your first 10K. I haven't uploaded in a minute, so I'm really just putting something together right now, but I feel like I do have some useful information to kind of give out to people who are looking to elevate, get themselves together, especially if you're around my age. You know, you younger, you just graduated, whatever, you don't want to go to college or something. You're just trying to figure things out, or whatever your situation may be, you're just trying to, get up to a better position than where you're at now. If you've already made your first 10K, all the information I'm about to give you is probably like obvious, or even if you haven't made your first 10K or you're close to it, this could be information that you might find obvious, but to some other people it might not be. I know for me, before I knew it wasn't obvious, and these were things that I had no idea that I could take advantage of, because there's like a lot of resources out there that people just aren't aware of, especially like people like me, depending on the situation you grew up in and stuff. There's always not going to be somebody to tell you what you can do to really elevate yourself quickly. So I'm gonna try to be that person. So boom. So like, I think one thing that everybody should be doing is writing stuff down. Like budgeting. That's kind of a given, but seriously though, that makes a huge difference to really sit down and write down everything that you spend money on, all your expenses, your goals, all the things like that. It's different when you know what they are versus writing it down on a piece of paper and visualizing it. When you write down how much money you're making at the moment, when you write down all the expenses you have and you compare it to, and you decide how much you're trying to save every month, it really starts to put things into perspective. It'll let you know if you can kind of afford things, if you should be cutting back on certain things, if you're spending way too much on stuff. It really just gives you a good idea, of where you're at, of where you stand. It's a good benchmark. I actually keep like a notebook. I have it right here. It's kind of sitting, the camera's kind of sitting on it, so I can't show y'all, but I got this journal that I have that I use for just financial stuff only. And every time I feel like I've had a change in my spending habits or a change in my income, I will open up my notebook and just rewrite down everything and just kind of refresh and go over everything I've got. Or even if I feel like nothing's really changed at all, but I just kind of want to revisit things and try to keep myself in check and hold myself accountable, I will rewrite down all my expenses based off of how I've been spending within recent history, to kind of get an idea of where I'm at, seeing, okay, am I doing better? Am I doing worse? Do I need to cut back? Have I been cutting back like I said I was going to last time? Things like that. It's really good to just write things down, because it's a good way to track progress, and it's something you can look back on too. It helps you know if you're really getting ahead or not. Because if when I look at the beginning of this notebook, there's been a huge jump in not only the amount of expenses I have to spend money on, but also my income too. So it really gives you a good idea of if you've really been moving up or not, and it tells you if you need to make a change. Also, make sure you get you a good savings account. Like, we don't do regular savings accounts. If you got all your savings and all your money in a regular savings account right now, get it out of there. You gotta move it somewhere else. I think it's cool to have like a little bit in there, just in case if that's what like your bills come out of or whatever. That's one thing. But I mean, in terms of like your savings, it shouldn't be sitting in there. Maybe if you want to keep a certain dollar amount for just like emergencies or immediate use or whatever, in the event that you might need it, that's cool, because I do the same thing. But the majority of your money should not be cash that you can that you have access to like immediately. It should be somewhere where it's building up and gaining value. So like most of my money is in like retirement, stocks, crypto, and in a high yield savings account. So the high yield savings account, if you don't know, it's pretty much a regular savings account, which is usually online through an app like Vanguard, Marcus. There's a whole lot out there. Some of the rates differ, but you can get an elevated interest rate compared to regular savings accounts. So regular savings accounts, they'll give you less than 1% of a return for keeping your money in the bank or a credit union or whatever it is that you're banking through. But the high yield savings accounts, they'll give you anywhere between like 3.5 all the way up to like 5.5%. And if you refer other people and you give them the referral link and they sign up, you can get an elevated interest rate for a period of time. It's pretty cool. It's a good way to really to really multiply your bread, when you just got it sitting somewhere and you don't even got to do anything with it. There's no risk factor to it. There's no like downsides. It's literally just a savings account where the interest rate is higher because it's an online bank. So a lot of your money should definitely be there. With most of them, you can access your cash in like one business day. You can get it transferred. Like it's really fast. It's really easy. You can set up recurring payments and all that stuff. And then like stocks too. That's a really good place to have your money. The thing is, stocks, they're of course a higher risk factor, but the thing is like stocks ain't even. They're not even as risky as people make them out to be. Like a lot of people, they be like, oh, I don't invest in stocks. I'm scared of losing my money, or like, what if the stock market crashes and all this stuff? Like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna lose everything. But it's like, you have to really kind of learn to educate yourself and get out of that headspace, because if you're not investing, especially at a younger age, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. Like, as soon as I turned 18, on my 18th birthday, I downloaded Robinhood. It's a really good app. It's user friendly. It's something good if you're just getting into it and you don't know much. I downloaded Robinhood and I immediately started investing into stocks. Before it wasn't even nothing crazy. I think I started like with like $5 a week, and then I upped it to like $20 a week, and then $50. You just keep going. You just deposit whatever you can. The app allows you to deposit a minimum of $1, and I feel like if you got $1 to invest, if you have $1 to spend on candy, whatever random BS that you don't really need, you have $1 to invest. I tell people to get into it, and they be like, oh, I don't got enough money to start out. I want to save up a certain amount before I start. But it's like, once again, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because stocks are going to keep going up, money is going to keep getting made, and you're just going to be the one who's left in the dust while everybody else is running. You know what I'm saying? Like, you too busy like trying to find the best shoes, but there's other people who's miles ahead of you who running barefoot. It's like you just got to do what you got to do and just jump in as fast as possible, no matter what you got. Because I guarantee you, most people are not down bad to the point where they don't have $1 to spare. So whatever you got, just put it in stocks, like somewhere. Like, you can put in like safe stuff too, like right now, like Nvidia, Meta, S&P 500. Certain stocks are like not guaranteed, but like they're pretty much always going up, and they're the safest ones you can put your money in, because they're super reliable. Like, some stocks are like the Toyota of stocks and crypto and stuff. So like, you don't even got to get super risky with it. Obviously with higher risk there could be higher reward, but there's a trade-off there, because you could lose some money, you could make some money. Because I'd be lying if I said I haven't lost money before. I probably lost like hundreds of dollars from stocks and crypto, like just making risky moves. But then on the flip side, it's okay, because like I've learned the game enough and I played it safe enough to where that's only a small portion of the money that I'm really putting into it. So even though I've lost hundreds of dollars from stocks and crypto, I've made thousands from it too in profit. So you gotta be willing to lose money to make money. That's just kind of how it works with really anything in general. So you just gotta kind of take that risk and put some money somewhere. Just start off with the safe stuff, and then when you got something to spare, like, you want to start with a dollar amount that you're not emotionally attached to. Like, that's the thing. You want to make sure whatever you put in is not something that you're gonna lose your mind if you lose all your money. Like, if you feel like $10 is the most amount of money you can invest, that you wouldn't be tripping about if you lost it, invest $10. You gotta do something you're not emotionally attached to, because if something happens to where it starts moving down, or you lose it, you don't want to lose your mind, or you don't want to quit investing just because of that one event, like you scared or whatever. Like, you don't want to put the whole house on it. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be reasonable when it comes to this stuff. So you just choose an amount that you're cool with, and I would highly suggest just setting up recurring deposits. Like, it doesn't even have to be deposits in the specific accounts, but it could just be a deposit into your portfolio, and then when you get it, like every Monday, every Friday, whenever it is, you look at everything that's available and you decide what you want to divvy your money up into from there. Because that's what I do. I don't ever really investing in specific things like every single week. I just kind of put a dollar amount in there and then take a look at everything that's going on and just kind of decide what I want to put my money in. Because one week I might want to, go heavy on the crypto. One week I might want to go heavy on the stock. I might want to play it safe. I might want to play it risky. It just kind of depends on how I'm feeling. But it's cool because, like I said, I'm using a dollar amount that I'm not emotionally attached to, so I can kind of do whatever I want with it. But majority of the time, I make moves that are smart enough to where I'm making profit most of the time. You have to really play the game, and you have to pay attention to the world around you and really be tapped in with like politics and pop culture and businesses and all that stuff, because it can really help you decide what you should be investing in. Like, when elections come around, or when like if boycotts happen, or like just certain like scandals, or like a company drop a new product, or they're talking about releasing something that's super hype, like things like that. You got to pay attention to all of that, because then you get in that moment, you wait a period of time, and everything, it's gonna, you're going to see profit. It's gonna skyrocket. Like, it's been just recently for this election, when Trump got in office, I invested in a company, and it made like 39% over the course of like a week or two because of the results of the election. Just little things like that you really gotta pay attention to it and take advantage of all that, so you can maximize your profit. Because stocks is like, it's one of the best ways to multiply your money, because it's a it's a probability thing, but it's also heavily dependent on just the way the world works. And if you tapped in with like just how the world is working and what's going on, you can kind of predict how things are gonna move, and you can kind of write your own future, write your own prophecy, whatever that may be. But yeah, I would also suggest, of course, putting some money somewhere for retirement. So like, get you a 401k, Roth IRA, whatever that may be, because those have like tax advantages and stuff. To where like sometimes it'll be, when you withdraw it, it's like tax free money when you withdraw it when you're ready to retire. Because that's the thing, a lot of people are so wrapped up in what they got going on now that they're not thinking about the future. So they're like, putting their money in a just regular savings account and stuff, and like they're just focused on saving up for a new car, or saving up for this computer they want, a game system, whatever it may be. They're just saving up for these mid or short term items that really don't bring any real value to them. But they're not worried about what they're gonna do when they decide they want to stop working. Because let's be honest, none of us want to work at all. So we really don't want to work once we're like 60 years old and older and all that stuff. Shoot, maybe even like 50 years old, you may be ready to be done. That's just kind of how we are. We're not necessarily built to be doing this. So you want to get out as quick as possible. So you got to go hard on a retirement. Like, I think between everything, between like retirement, my investments, and like my savings, like as far as my high yield savings account and stuff, I would say most of my money goes in my retirement. And then after that is my savings, like my cash. I guess the high yield savings account is really just for like emergency payments, or for like midterm to long term savings goals. For like whether that be like a car, or paying something off, or like I want to get something nice that kind of costs a lot of money. Things like that. That's kind of what I use that for. But for the most part, it just kind of sits there stacking. For whatever I really need it for, or really want it for. And then the stocks is what I put the least amount of money into. I still put a substantial amount of money in there, but it is what I put the least amount of money into. I probably should put a little bit more, but at the moment I just kind of feel more comfortable not putting as much money in the stocks, because I feel like right now I do want to run up my liquid a little bit more before I worry about things that are more volatile and more risky. So I don't put as much money in the stocks, but I definitely do put a decent amount into that, and like crypto and stuff. But you just gotta find a balance. Find what works for you, find what you're willing to do, and you just kind of divvy it up from there. So like you don't have to go hard on the retirement, and then go the least on like investments and stuff. That's just kind of what I do. But I would suggest you do go hard on the retirement, because at the end of the day, that's the end goal, is to like be successful, so you don't gotta work as hard or work at all. So I personally would suggest going the hardest on retirement. But depending on your situation, you might have to go harder on something else. Like you might have to worry about your liquid a little bit more because you might have debt you got to pay off, or you might have bills that's coming up that you have to take care of. So like you just gotta, you know, obviously I don't know everybody's situation. I don't know your situation. You don't really know my situation. So you just kind of have to evaluate what you got going on and decide what's going to be best for you based off of that. But I would say if you can, really try to get heavy on that retirement, and it's because it's it's important. Like you know what I'm saying. Like it's really important to get ahead and think about the future. And it might suck, but sometimes you gotta do things that you don't like. That's really the biggest thing when it comes to making your first 10,000. You know what I mean? Like you gotta really keep your head down and learn to just work. You know what I mean? Like you gotta develop good saving habits. You have to really just stop spending money on unnecessary things and kind of lock in for a second and just save up all you can. Wait a little bit longer before you get that car you really want if the one you got is working fine. Wait a little bit longer till you get that new phone if the one you got works perfectly fine. Wait a little bit longer to get them clothes you want. Like, because a lot of that stuff is always going to be there. You just got to, obviously if there's an opportunity that needs to be seized, that's like a once in a lifetime thing or a very rare thing, do what you got to do. But at the end of the day, I would highly suggest, you just keep your head down and really keep those big purchases to a minimum and just get what you need, like your bills, your food, all of that stuff, like the things that are really necessary. Just try to stick to only spending money on that because that's what's really important. That's what's going to keep you afloat. But everything else you have to try and keep it to a minimum. Like obviously I'm not saying don't spend money on anything because it is still important to keep yourself happy because at the end of the day you can't health is wealth, and you can't be wealthy if you can't be healthy. And health also involves like emotional, spiritual, and mental feelings too, not just how you are physically. So you have to make sure like you still got a little bit of money set aside to get what you want every now and again within reason. And you make sure you still going to the gym and all that, because if you're not, you got to get in there because getting your body right is super important. It really, your mind and body are connected, so you got to make sure that you got both in check. So you make sure you stay in the gym. You make sure you set money aside if you want to eat out every now and again, or get a little something that you want, like just kind of when you feel like it every now and again, or like just little things like that. You got to make sure that you develop a balance, but you do want to have some bias towards just saving your money and going hard and putting the money in places where it's going to grow, because it's so difficult. Like I remember when I first decided I wanted to save up, like my first goal was to save $10,000. I was just trying so hard to put as much money as I could into my savings. But the problem was, since I did it that way, it was so easy for me to access it because it was just sitting in a savings account in my bank. So it only take a press of a few buttons to transfer that to my checking account and get something that I impulsively wanted. You got to make it kind of convenient for yourself when you want to practice that self-control and make sure that you're saving your money. So like when you save these substantial amounts of money, put them in places where not only are they going to multiply more than a savings account, so it'll just be more beneficial as far as its growth, but you also want to put it somewhere further away to where it takes more steps in order to access it, because then it really makes you think twice, to make sure like you think to yourself, do I really want this, or do I really need this? Like, do I really want to go through all the trouble of transferring the money and like waiting a couple business days to buy it? Because like, a few days from then, you probably not even going to want it no more. You might start to really think about your decision. You're like, I don't think I want this for real. And, you also got to see your progress kind of regress. If you pulling out your stocks or whatever, and you see that portfolio number go from like 7K down to like 5 or 6K, it kind of messes with you mentally. It's like, dang, I don't even want to take the money out, because then I know I'm really going back, because you gotta take a lot more time and a lot more effort in order to spend that money, because it's not just sitting there in that bank account. So not only are you taking more time and energy to spend money on something you might not really need, but you're also making a conscious effort to no longer take advantage of the investment opportunities that are there when you have the money sitting there, and in that stock or in that 401k or whatever it may be. You're making that conscious decision. You really thinking about it. It makes you value your money a lot more when it's in places where it grows, and then you take it out and it's not growing no more. It's stagnant. But like, honestly, saving your first 10,000 really ain't even that hard. Like, it just does take good habits and a lot of discipline. You really just gotta lock in for like 6 months to a year, like kind of depending on how much money you make. Like, when I saved up my first 10,000, I really wasn't making that much at all. Like, when I first developed that goal, I might have still been in high school. I had just graduated. I was only making like $14 an hour. Granted, I live with my parents and stuff. I had no car note because I bought my car in cash. So like, it was a lot easier for me to save huge amounts of money at once. But I was only making $14 an hour when I first started, and I did make a lot of progress doing that. It's just you gotta have that discipline, and you gotta have the drive for it. Like, at the end of the day, nobody's gonna come save you. Nobody's gonna really hold your hand through it. You're the one who has to make that decision. You're the one who really has to be like, okay, I'm locking in, and I'm really gonna do this. Like, this is what I want, and this is what I'm gonna do. It's like, it's a big commitment, but everybody always says, like, after you make your first 10K, it gets easier. It gets way easier from there. Like, when you make, like, the hardest financial milestone to reach is your first 10,000. Once you make your first 10,000, you're 6 figures and then 7 figures and all that. It comes easy after that. That's what everybody says, because it's kind of true. Like, once you, like, obviously I ain't made like 6 figures or 7 figures yet, but I'm just saying, like, once you crack the 5-figure mark, it becomes so easy to make more money, because it's like going from 3 figures or 4 figures or wherever you're starting from, and scaling that all the way to 5 figures. You learn so much during that time period. That's really like the test run, and that's really the trial of your willpower, and that's when you learn to develop good habits, and you learn how to multiply your money. So then once you reach that point where you're at 10,000, chances are you've had enough experience to where you're like, okay, so now I know how to save money. Now I know how to flip my bread. Now I know how to multiply it. Like, because there's so many different ways you can do it. Not even just the stocks, crypto, investments, all that stuff. Like, you could take that money. You could take some money and, like, you could invest into a small business or a service or whatever it is, like lawn care or something. Like, I remember when I was younger, I had my dad, I borrowed a shovel from him, and me and my brother, we would shovel snow. Whenever there was a snowstorm every year. I live further up north, so like snow is a lot more common here. But if you just seize that opportunity, you can make a lot of money. Because I was like 13 at the time, I think, probably younger. And every time there was a snowstorm, we was just like, we'll go outside, immediately bundle up, and knock on every single door for hours on end in the freezing cold, just shoveling snow, shoveling people's driveways, shoveling their sidewalk and all that. We was only doing it for like $20 for the sidewalk and the driveway, $10 for just the driveway, stuff like that. We weren't even charging, nothing crazy, but we was out there busting our butts and just working hard. And it got to a point where we made some pretty good money, and I had invested some of my own money. Like, I bought this 2-hand really, really big shovel from like Home Depot. It was like $40. But it got the job done way faster. We were able to knock out houses like with way less effort, way quicker. It was a much better shovel because it was so much larger. We could, we were able to make money quicker. And just little things like that. Like, you have to learn to take the money you got, or take the money that you made from whatever it is you're doing at the moment, and then just use it whenever you see an opportunity to kind of invest it and make more money. Because spending that $40 on that shovel was so worth it, because after that we were knocking out houses like clockwork. So before we were maybe hit like 2 houses per hour, probably even less. But with this new shovel, I'm knocking stuff out with ease. So not only am I preserving my body a little more because I don't gotta work as hard, but we're also knocking houses out quicker. So we're hitting more houses by the hour. So by the time the day is over, before the sun comes down, we had hit 2 times more houses than we did before. And now we got all this money. We was during these days, when the snowstorms was coming and stuff, like we was starting our neighborhood, but we would venture out from places to places we didn't even live. And I remember sometimes it would get as good as us pulling in like $200-$300 a day. Like it was really lucrative. You just gotta be willing to put in that work and hustle and do something you might not really want to do for real. It's like, when you feel like you out of options, you're really not out of options. You just have to start considering the ones that you didn't want to do before. Like, because the thing is, you gotta do what you need to do so you can do what you want to do. And those things are almost never the same. Most of us need to work, but most of us don't want to work. Unless your job is your passion, like that's different. But most people aren't at that point yet. And if you're watching this video, you're probably trying to make your way to that point. So you just got to be willing to put your head down and just kind of suck it up. You know what I mean? Like just do what you don't want to do. So then eventually when the end of that week comes, when Friday comes around or whenever, and you get that check, you're like, it sucked before, but now I got what I wanted because I did what I needed. And that's just what really matters at the end of the day. You just have to be willing to cut out your bad habits and put your money in the right spots. And then, before you blink, you're gonna hit 5 figures. And you keep those multiple streams of income coming on in. Like I said, just hustle outside of just your regular jobs or whatever. Use that money to put it in other places and elevate it, to create other small businesses or other gigs or opportunities or whatever. Like, you do that and you're golden. Like, you could probably, like I said, I got it done off of $14 an hour. You could probably get it done in a year. But yeah, if y'all got any questions, let me know. Can't take no naps. We only sleep when the day is over. I'm going to bed, y'all. But I hope y'all learned something from this.